Say hello to my friend Pizza Face. First, let's realize that to make a horror movie that might get distributed, we don't need to have lavish, state-of-the-art, or even lavish, not-so-state-of-the-art special effects. The beauty of this genre is that cheesy attempts at suspending our disbelief have become cult hits. The master of these slasher picks, the Wizard of Gore, Herschel Gordon Lewis, might not have had the budget to make his pig look as adorable as Babe, but he achieved his effect and ended up laughing all the way to the bank. The fact that in one of his movies a severed limb bounces off the floor with a clatter because it's plastic makes us laugh and feel better because it isn't real, like this schematically painted blood. Our gloppy over-the-top cranial bucket of goo, or the improbably impaled guts of a pajama corpse. Laughable horror movies reduce our fear level primarily due to the fact that the demons turn out to be dopes, and the violence turns out to be phony. Second, grisly special effects makeup isn't that expensive. Go ahead and Google recipes for blood. See what kind of wounds can be molded with a small amount of latex combined with your blood concoction. They make repulsively slimy innards. Latex is also great for the complexion and head-hurled accident victims. The well-placed prop is cheap to create and works for low and high-budget movies. But the fine art of messages scrawled in blood, are spattered rather inventively here above a ceiling fan, shivers the imagination as well as garners a substantial cost savings. Like this blood-soaked shift gracing an almost balletic contortion, the effect is painterly, but real. Just like the right noodle mixture that will provide the spilled brains we have in Peter Jackson's Bad Taste. Cooking up emergency room nightmares is like being a chef who has mastered the craft of using cut-rate ingredients. Third, and most important to remember, is the impact sound has in the horror genre. In the remake of The Ring, think of the unsettling sound of the static on the TV, the terrifying ring of the telephone, famous in the horror genre, because of how loud, creepy, and portentous a phone can be, unless it's a cell phone. We don't see the cell phone tableau in many horror movies, just not loud enough. There is no apparition, maniac, or demon that does not surprise us without the accompaniment of bone-jarring noise. The thrashing commotion of a struggle is mostly a sound issue, with whatever crashing, metallic noise we can add or visualize to amplify our concern. The echo of footsteps, stalking or fleeing, is all in the recording here at a Foley studio, where Foley artists, wearing the appropriate shoes, match footsteps to the action in the film, syncing their tread to the playback on the screen, the correct crunch below their feet. These are the footsteps that we hear as the intended flees the threatening tones of the villain, just as we hear the cautious, worried inflection of the pursued, the desperate pleas, stunned appeals, the painful moaning, and the hysterical screams are a matter of voice, not special effects. A creaking stair with Boy, or Martin Balsam climbing. Slamming doors. And an ear-splitting shriek is all that it takes to have us on the edge of our seats shuddering with dread. Because it's all about the scream. The history of this genre was built on these B-movie arias, reaching the nonpareil and psycho. Even with an innocuous child in the room, all we need is the scream. It's the cheapest effect we can get. So it's not the costliness of the special effects that matter in horror as much as the suspense that builds, leading up to the surprise that catches our hero unawares. Horror movies have to be paced so that our special effects, no matter how minimal, are over the top, have maximum effect. And this finally has bearing on the talent level of your performers. Say you can't afford to pay the price of a union actor. The fact that it is easier to make blood-curdling screams look more real on camera than it is to reveal profound love is one of the many blessings that make horror films able to be produced on a limited budget. All I'm saying is that if you're about to embark on a movie-making career and aren't a millionaire or married to one, whether you've hired an amateur or a pro, the making of a horror movie should be a consideration. Don't get me wrong, I don't mean to imply that a low-budget sci-fi movie won't also do the trick. Ridiculous scenarios that make us less fearful of the future will always have an audience. But for the purposes of this class, let's remain faithful to the inexpensive joys that making a horror movie will provide.